Okay, so let's unpack something that, well, shapes so much of our lives, right?
Mm,
This intricate, sometimes messy, often surprising world of love and relationships.
mm-hmm.
We're not just talking, grand romantic gestures here.
Yeah.
We're diving into the fundamental ways we connect, or sometimes, maybe, fail to connect.
Yeah, and how our internal worlds kind of collide with our external experiences of love.
Exactly.
And our source today, it's this really insightful essay. It's called Not Everybody Will Love You in a Way You Understand.
Ooh, that title alone says a lot.
It really does. So our mission kind of in this deep dive is to pull out the core ideas, the stuff that helps explain why relationships can feel so challenging sometimes,
Right.
and why love might show up in forms we don't even recognize, and, ultimately what all this teaches us about ourselves.
Okay, so the essay, it starts with this pretty powerful idea, doesn't it? That a lot of the tension we feel,
Mm.
it stems from this mismatch.
Yeah, a mismatch
Yeah.
between our expectations of love, like how we think it should look, how we think we deserve it, and the reality of how it's actually given and received.
That makes sense. It gets right to the heart of those moments, where you're grappling with the fact that someone might genuinely love you, like deeply.
But still struggle.
Exactly. Still
Yeah.
struggle in the relationship. Maybe they leave. Maybe they fight with you.
Yeah.
Maybe they even, hurt you.
And the essay really pushes back against that common idea that love is this perfect healing thing.
Right, like a magic cure-all.
Yeah. Instead, it suggests love is complex. It can absolutely coexist with pain, with past hurts, with all that internal conflict we carry around.
Okay, so let's really dig into that complexity then, because the essay makes this case that in relationships, the struggle often isn't really about whether two people are in love.
Less about the if.
Yeah, much more about the how. It's the specific, nuances of being in love that create that internal friction, even when the core feeling is definitely there.
And it gives such relatable examples, doesn't it, of these internal pressures that can cause conflict, even in a loving connection.
Like what specifically?
Well, things like that nagging, ounce of uncertainty that we're often told shouldn't exist if it's quote unquote real love.
Oh, absolutely. Society feeds us that line, right?
Yeah.
That it should be 100% certainty all the time,
Yeah.
which is, well, it's rarely how humans actually work.
Almost never. Or you get those external voices or even your own thoughts saying you're so young, kind of implying your feelings aren't valid or won't last.
Mhm.
That one's tough.
Then there's the comparison trap. The idea that someone without such and such an issue could come along and be better.
Or just that feeling that there is better out there somewhere, even if you can't quite define it.
Exactly. And the essay also points to, external stuff, baggage getting in the way.
Like what?
Like thinking about the ex who's more convenient, or maybe physical distance becoming a huge barrier,
Right.
or a deep-seated fear of commitment, plain bad timing even, simple distractions, or just that impulse to try something different.
Wow, that's a lot of potential friction points. It is, and the essay just perfectly captures that specific feeling, that sense of circling through these notions, trapped between loving someone and wanting to choose otherwise. It really validates that difficult internal space so many people find themselves in.
Okay, so building on those internal conflicts,
Yeah.
the essay then introduces this really profound idea about the human heart. He says the heart is not a one-time expended thing. What does that actually mean?
Well, I think it means you don't just put one person or one experience in your heart and poof, suddenly all the previous hurts or complexities are just gone, erased.
Ah, okay. So it's not like replacing an old file with a new one.
Not at all. And that's a crucial insight because it helps explain why, as the essay notes, we might leave even though we love them. We might fight even though we love them. And yeah, sometimes we might do wrong by them even though we love them.
And the essay is really clear that this isn't necessarily proof that we don't love them enough.
Right.
That's not the takeaway.
Exactly. It's because, as the essay puts it, all of these things can coexist within us.
Right.
The presence of a new love doesn't magically heal old wounds or make difficult feelings just disappear.
It might cover them up for a bit.
It might mask it for a little bit, yeah, offer a kind of temporary relief, but it doesn't necessarily fix the root causes of our internal struggles.
So it sounds like our inner world is just incredibly layered. The essay suggests the heart can hold, more than one thing, more than one person, more than one feeling. But the mistake is expecting them to all coexist perfectly. That internal harmony isn't automatic, is it? even when the
That's
love is
great.
present.
No, not automatic at all. And the metaphor the essay uses here is really striking, I think. Love grows you from the inside out. It expands you.
Okay.
But, and this is the key, this expansion doesn't eliminate whatever else was there beforehand.
Ah,
Think of it like adding a beautiful new wing onto an old house, maybe a house that has some structural issues or rooms filled with old furniture. The new part is wonderful, it adds space, but the history and the existing structure of the old house, they're still very much present. They still shape the whole building.
that's a great analogy. And it leads us right into another powerful point the essay makes. Because of all this internal complexity, love doesn't always look the way we think it should.
Yeah. It doesn't arrive in a perfectly packaged, storybook form.
No fairy tales here.
Not always.
Yeah.
This is where the essay gets a bit poetic, actually. It suggests love travels through our hidden spaces and depths. So as it moves through our stuff, our past experiences, our fears, our defense mechanisms, it creates an echo.
An echo.
Yeah. So the way love comes out, the way we express it is fundamentally changed. It's shaped by our own internal landscape.
And the examples it gives of this are really eye-opening, like loving silently.
Where the feeling is deep, but it's just never spoken.
Or loving without ever realizing they're in love. Maybe because they lack the framework or, I don't know, the self-awareness to even name it that.
Yeah, that happens. And then maybe the most challenging one, love that doesn't look loving at all.
How does that show up?
Well, the essay says this is love that gets masked by fear or maybe forced into remission or acted on through bouts of anger and disappointment.
Wow. So behaviors like, it mentions not being able to look at someone after they're gone.
Yeah, or behaviors they're not being able to stop, or just that total inability to communicate, not being able to tell them either way.
So these behaviors, they aren't love itself, but how love gets kind of distorted by that internal echo you mentioned.
That's the idea. And the essay even tackles a really difficult example, punishing behavior. Maybe like a parent trying to shame a child into complying.
Right. How does it frame that?
It frames it not as pure love, obviously, but as a fundamental misunderstanding, like not realizing you cannot shame people into changing. And it draws a really critical distinction here. It says that kind of anger, that punishing expression, it's a mechanism of their ego, not of their love.
Ego versus love.
Exactly. It's a defensive reaction, right? Self-protection driven by insecurity or fear, not that expansive, giving energy of love itself.
Which just reinforces that crucial idea that the essay keeps emphasizing.
Yeah.
We are not inherently whole once we've found another person to fit into us.
Nobody can do that for us.
Right. We have to fill those spaces ourselves. Our unaddressed internal stuff, it's inevitably going to affect how we experience and express love with others.
Absolutely.
Okay, so if love can be so misunderstood, if it can get twisted up by our own stuff, where's the comfort in that? Sounds kind of bleak.
Well, the essay offers this really beautiful shift in perspective here. It says the value isn't actually in the misunderstanding itself.
Okay.
The value is in how we let the misunderstanding open and expand us.
Open and expand us.
This is where the potential for transformation comes in. It suggests letting that complex experience of love, all the twisted ways it's morphed and sullied by our baggage and misunderstandings, letting that become the force that pushes you into transforming yourself and your life out of necessity.
So the struggle itself becomes the catalyst for growth.
Precisely. It leads to this powerful realization that ultimately it was love that created you, not the pain that is the byproduct of lost love.
Wow, that reframes things significantly.
It really does. And maybe the most profound insight is that the source of healing, the source of wholeness, it wasn't the love someone didn't give. It was the love you had to find in yourself because you navigated these complex relationship experiences. The external challenge becomes the catalyst for internal self-discovery, self-acceptance.
This really changes the whole idea of love's purpose, doesn't it? The essay seems to suggest the only thing that ultimately matters is that we let love do what it's supposed to do.
Which is.
Give us more of it.
Yeah.
Especially when that means we learn how to take it for ourselves.
And this can happen in ways we might not expect, right? The essay poses this really provocative idea that sometimes we choose people to show us the hidden parts of ourselves.
That's a challenging thought. That we might be drawn to people who reveal aspects of ourselves we weren't aware of, maybe even the difficult ones.
And it takes it even further. It suggests sometimes we choose people who we know will hurt us.
Okay, hold on. Why on earth would anyone do that? That sounds self-destructive.
Well, the essay offers a difficult explanation. It suggests that for some people, maybe, this painful path is the only way we can be acquainted with our inner beings.
So it's like a path to self-knowledge through pain.
Kind of. A path of self-acquaintance born out of difficulty. It's not necessarily saying it's a conscious choice or even a healthy one, but that it can be a powerful, albeit painful, route to understanding oneself for some individuals.
And the essay concludes this line of thought by saying that even if this process, this self-discovery through difficulty, isn't understood by others,
Yeah.
this act of using relationships, even the tough ones, for self-acquaintance, it's often the most honest, beautiful way we love ourselves too. It's about finding ourselves within the experience, not just because of it.
So, bringing this all together then, this deep dive into the essay, it really shows us that love is, well, it's incredibly multifaceted. It just doesn't fit into neat little boxes.
Definitely no.
Our hearts are these complex spaces, holding more than just one feeling or experience at a time. And love can show up in unexpected ways, sometimes confusing, sometimes even painful ways because of our own internal landscapes.
But, and this is the hopeful part, I guess, ultimately, the external challenges we face in love, they aren't just sources of pain.
Right. They can be powerful catalysts for internal growth and, crucially, for finding love for ourselves.
Which leaves us with a really thought-provoking question to ponder, doesn't it? Something directly inspired by this essay.
Yeah, what's that?
Well, if the misunderstandings and the difficulties in love are meant to open and expand us, as the essay suggests, how might you, the listener, actively look at challenging relationship experiences you've had, or maybe ones you're navigating right now? Not just seeing them as problems, but as opportunities. How can you maybe reframe them as chances for self-discovery, for understanding your own hidden sciences and depths?
And for building that crucial love within yourself, rather than only focusing on getting it from someone else.
Exactly. What new understanding might that kind of shift bring? Something to think about.